Hi, and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. I'm gonna be honest, the past couple days have been incredibly difficult, and honestly, that's like an understatement. And I know a lot of you guys can definitely relate to that as well. But I did feel inspired and empowered to pick up the vlog camera this morning and start vlogging because transparently, I get so much joy and so much peace in the community of this online space. And there's so much work I feel like I want to do and I feel like that we should collectively do, but I also still want to encourage people to take time and space for themselves to find peace even when that feels impossible. Just in general too, I just want to say thank you to everyone who watches my channel because like honestly y'all, you're the best. And I find so much love and peace within this community, and it's just like boggles my mind to think like what I would do without you guys. That being said, for the theme of this vlog, I sort of wanted to carry that intention into my reading for the next few days. Transparently, I have been doom scrolling endlessly. I have been consuming so much social media. I have been spiraling so badly that I thought I would sort of take on the trend of using my social media time and transforming that into reading time. Take that very unproductive, terrible for my brain activity and instead channel it into things that I love, that do make me feel good, that are productive and will kind of build me back up, better serve, you know, my community and society in general, which is why it's so important to let yourself have moments of peace. With that in mind, I have been averaging over 4 hours a day on TikTok. I know, feel free to judge me. It's not been great. I want to take that 4 hours a day I have been spending scrolling and now instead read at least 4 hours a day for the next few days as a way to sort of recharge and restart myself because I feel like it'll be really good for me. And I wanted to document and share this with you guys in case anyone out there also needs a little bit of distraction or recharging as we begin to process what in the world is going on. That being said, without further ado, let's go ahead and chat through my TBR for this turning my doom scrolling into reading vlog. Here is my little pile of books, and given that I'm trying to read 4 hours a day for the next few days, I feel like I can definitely knock a few of these out. First, we have Moonbound by Robin Sloan. This is a book I just feel like I'm gonna really love. It's a sci-fi fantasy hybrid novel that I hear is also super weird in all of the ways that I personally enjoy within stories. So I think I'm going to start with this, pick it up. I've actually already started it. I've read about 100 pages and it's definitely the strange type of novel that I was hoping it would be, which 10 out of 10 so far. From there, I hope is to finish that and then also finish Ancillary Mercy by Ann Leckie. I'm looking for a little bit of action, a little bit of drama, and also just the feeling of finishing a trilogy finally that you've been putting off for a long time. I feel like I could use that serotonin boost, and I just love Ann Leckie's writing so much. Alongside those books, I do want to continue to listen to my audiobook, which is How to Solve Your Own Murder. This is like a cozy whodunit murder mystery style story set in the British countryside. I've been loving this audiobook, and I think I also want to go and pick up myself a puzzle to do while listening to this. Primo type of distraction, if you ask me, and honestly, what I need going into this weekend and how I plan to spend most of my time. If I'm being honest. But yes, welcome to the start of my vlog where I hope to transform all of my doom scrolling into reading and channeling back into hobbies and things that bring me a lot of peace and joy, because we still deserve that as well, alongside the things that we must do in the future. I am gonna make myself a very late breakfast. It's literally 11 a.m., but like your body needs fuel, your body needs to eat. And so I'm trying to get back on track of feeding myself things that I love, that are delicious, and will provide me energy, which again is important. So if you haven't fed yourself today, feed yourself today. But I am making yogurt bowls, which I have been so in love with. I recently picked up this raspberry jam, which I'm including. Small things, small things. Yogurt bowls. Okay, we're about to go participate in reading sprint number 1. I have my book, Moonbound by Robin Sloan. I'm gonna give you guys info on what this book is about, and I think I'm gonna go sit in my beanbag chair, turn on a faux fireplace, and we're gonna chat about this, and then I'm going to read for at least 30 minutes. I'm gonna set a timer. I have an egg timer specifically. The fireplace is going. My beanbag is ready for me. As I mentioned, I've already read about 100 pages of Moonbound, so let's chat a little more about what this book is about because it's so weird and I love it so far. So basically Moonbound is set 11,000-esque years in the future. And you would imagine that this would be like this super futuristic sci-fi world, but not really, because humanity has sort of regressed back into more of a traditional fantasy landscape, but there are some very key changes to the world. Basically, humanity existed and then dragons came and sort of annihilated the human race, which has resulted in not very many humans being around, and also the evolution of creatures to sort of take some unexpected paths, like animals being able to talk, for example. Beginning of this book, we're introduced to our main character, Ariel, and he lives in a small town with his brother, and everyone has like a very specific role. And at the top of this hierarchy for this town, there is this wizard, and he's sort of all-knowing, all-powerful. And Ariel has sort of spent his whole life just following his expected role until one day something in the pattern breaks. Ariel stumbles upon a ship that was lost from 11,000 years in the past during the last great battle between humans and dragons, resulting in him having this piece of artificial intelligence like begin to live inside his body, which is also the narrator of this story. Like the narrator and the person telling us this book is this like piece of artificial intelligence living inside Ariel's brain, and they have this sort of cohabitation together, and they're very aware of each other. Because of this presence, it sort of breaks the story up from this sort of classic trope style story, which is what the powerful wizard wanted to happen, and he had expected roles for Ariel to fulfill within this community, like taking this sword out of the stone. It sort of upends everything. And now Ariel is leaving his community for the first time and venturing out into the wide world, try to save his brother and his town from this evil wizard. But he also begins to get wrapped up into this larger story at play, which has to do with like all of humanity, the world, this conflict from so many years prior. And our narrator, again, is this piece of artificial intelligence who's been trapped inside of this ship for 11,000 years and has never seen this world. So he's also experiencing it for the first time, just like us, the reader. Why this book has worked so well for me is that it's so unique and weird. I never know what type of character I'm gonna come across, what type of landscape, what type of change and pivot that has happened, from a talking beaver who runs his own law firm to the fact that there are no more children because aging has sort of stopped in place. Like there's so many strange quirks to this story, which very much gives like Portal fantasy vibe. When a character falls down a rabbit hole, while some things are familiar, everything is different in every way that counts. This is like a Portal fantasy, but instead it's set so many years in the future on Earth. There's some elements of like, I understand that, but so many things are different. It's also utilizing like classic fantasy quest trope storylines and then also kind of upending those on their heads. So it's a very unexpected but familiar story at the same time. It's funny and thoughtful and whimsical. The writing style has really captured me. I love that we're going to all of these different locations, and I also always love stories like this when there's a clear and distinct narrator like talking directly to us, the reader, which is what's happening in this book, because our little AI guy living in Ariel's brain is kind of a chronicler. They're a chronicler of history. So he's sort of taking in all of these events and then processing it and giving it back to us. So it's like sci-fi, but it's fantasy, Portal fantasy, but we're on Earth. Like there's so many cool things that are happening in this that are working well, that has really captured my attention. It's very weird, but I love weird fantasy. And I feel like if you love weird books, this is definitely worth checking out, at least so far. But I'm gonna sit down now and try to read for 30 to 45 minutes. I'm gonna set a timer on my phone across the room, and I'll let you know how much I was able to read during this reading sprint. Let's get started. Reading sprint 1, success. And also look how pretty this hardcover book is too. Grateful for yesterday's dinner, which has turned into a mishmash, but today's lunch. So a win is a win. I think it might start raining outside. The wind got very gusty all of a sudden. But we have 45 minutes read of my 4 hours I'm trying to hit for today. So I'm going to sit down now and do another reading sprint. This time I'm hoping for a bit longer. I read about 50 pages in my last reading sprint, and I am just loving Moonbound so much. It's a hard book to describe because it's so weird. I feel like everything I'm saying can't possibly make sense because none of it like because it's so original, I feel like I'm talking gibberish, but when you read it in the context of the story, it's so smart and thoughtful and fun. But I'm like, yeah, you know, like the talking beaver and the bog and, you know, the evil wizard, the evil futuristic sword and the dragons that live on the moon. Like all of these things out of context of the story just sound bananas. And honestly, in the context of the story, they're also bananas, but it's just like so original. And I love stories like this because outside of the plot just being interesting and like wanting to see how the whole thing is going to unfold, but like experiencing the plot and seeing like where it's going to take us is also so cool because it's so like weird. Anyway, I'm going to sit down now. We're going to have an hour plus reading sprint. We're going to see where we're at. I might actually venture out into the world tonight. First time I'm leaving my house in well over a week to see some friends because Clay tells me socialization is good for me. I'm, you know, on the fence about that. So I might leave and then I will obviously read more tonight, but I want to at least hit the over 2 hour mark before I go anywhere so I can make sure I hit my 4 hour mark for my book. And then I think I'll be almost done with this book, at least by tomorrow morning, and then we can keep it moving right along, you know? Reading sprint time, and yes, there are Christmas pillows out. Don't even worry about it. Of reading down, and I've read another like 90 pages, so I've read just under 150 pages, like 135 pages. So thrilled with that, and I have over 2 hours of reading time, so I'm definitely going to read more when I come back from hanging out with friends tonight as I settle in and unwind before bed. It's also finally chilly enough for me to wear a sweater outside of my house. Try not to let the climate anxiety get too much in here, but it's been a hot fall in Texas. So I can finally wear a sweater on November 8th, 9th? I don't even know what day it is. Early November. A win is a win. A win is a win. Good morning, everyone. Debuting my new blue mug because my other one broke and was horrifyingly stained. No matter how many times I scrubbed it. So hopefully this one will fare better. I'm gonna go sit down now and do some reading. So good news is I did go out and socialize last night. I saw my friends, which was nice. Also, I did come back and I did do more reading and I was able to hit my goal. I read about an hour and a half before falling asleep, but I didn't check in because I fell asleep. But the reading was still accomplished and the progress was very much progressed. I mean, look at this book. I have flown through this book. I want to say I've read about 200 pages. It's just so good. It's so weird. It's providing me the perfect level of escapism right now. Obviously, my clock has reset. My 4 hours of reading I want to accomplish today needs to happen yet again. So I am going to jumpstart that right now. Obviously, I feel like I should be able to finish this book no problem. I have about 100 pages left, and then I'm going to move on to my next book. I also have some puzzles hopefully arriving today. So I want to listen to some of my audiobook, which is How to Solve Your Own Murder. But luckily, I have plenty of books to keep me occupied and distracted. So there we are. Moonbound is so good. Like, there's literally a princess in the tower, but like how this, it's just so, it's for me, okay? I loved Sourdough. I love Mr. Penundrum's 24-Hour Bookstore. Like, I know I like this author's writing a lot. I know this book won't be for everyone because it's very strange and kind of hard to follow, but like, I just love it. I just love it. 1 hour of reading later, she's treating herself to some breakfast tacos. They do need to be heated up in the microwave though, so we're gonna do that really fast. I'm gonna eat these, watch some Texas football, and play Animal Crossing for a little bit of a Saturday break. And then we're circling back to reading. I have so little left of my book, about 40 pages. And I love just like the structure of the story. We have locales and groups of people that kind of offer training, insight, progression to the book. It feels like classic Quest. You overcome a certain obstacle. You meet people who either offer a challenge or like unexpected education and stuff like that. And it's just like, I'm telling you, it's the book for me. Hi, update. It is now early evening and I've since changed into my early evening pajamas, and I have a reading update for the first hour and a half-ish I was able to read today, and that is I finished Moonbound by Robin Sloan. I'm gonna be so honest with y'all, I loved this book, and I feel like I can't even approach this book with like an objective eye because it was just full of so many things that I earnestly love so much. Like, I think this book was great and I really would highly recommend it, but I also feel like it would have to do a lot for me to dislike it based on just the stylization of the writing, the direct narrator to the reader, the weirdness, the whimsy, the classic utilization of writing tropes and fantasy tropes and how that was so central to this story. Just the cleverness and the endearing characters you got to follow along this quest and journey. I just really adored this, and it absolutely delivered like everything I wanted it to deliver in terms of like what was literally in it, and also how I thought it was actually like very successful in terms of accomplishing all of those things. I'm also happy to say I've read about like 320 pages so far for this vlog. My 4 hours of mandatory reading a day is, you know, turning out. With that in mind, the plan for the rest of the day is I'm actually going to start a new puzzle. It's Sunday night, so I thought it'd be fun to sit down and start that new puzzle and listen to my audiobook, which I have been really enjoying. I am currently on page 98 of How to Solve Your Own Murder, and this again is a cozy murder mystery, basically with a dual timeline. We follow our main character in present day who dreams of being like a murder mystery writer, and she basically comes into an unexpected fortune from her estranged, like very wealthy aunt, and when she goes to like visit her to try to understand like what's happening, why is she in her will, she's found to be dead. The thing is that's especially fishy about that is that that woman always thought she was going to be murdered and has been trying to solve her own murder her entire life. And our main character finds her journal, so we're like reading her journal, and we're reading her journal and experiencing a timeline in the past, and then also following our character in present day trying to solve the murder itself, set in a small town in the English countryside. It's giving like cozy murder mystery vibes, and the audiobook has been super engaging so far. I've really liked the narrator, so I thought I would sit down and listen to a little bit of this tonight and start my puzzle, maybe like an hour or so, to again try to keep knocking off my time for required reading. And then I also want to start my next physical book, which is Ancillary Mercy by Ann Leckie. This, of course, is the third and final book to the Imperial Radish series, one of my favorite series I've been reading and enjoying this year. And I just feel like I'm really gonna love this third book, and I'm trying to like pick things up I feel like that are gonna bring me immense enjoyment, even if they stress me out. As long as I'm really liking the quality, I think that's what's key. But I got a new holiday puzzle. I'm gonna show it to you guys, and we're going to do some puzzling together. But happy to say, first book read and completed for this vlog. We're also like 5.5 hours into my 4 hours a day reading requirement, and we're just gonna keep this going. Let's just see how many. The progress is there. I might even be able to read more than these outlined books, but the goal is again 4 hours a day. So I'm now gonna go start a puzzle, listen to my audiobook, and knock off some more time. If you heard any noise in the background, it's because Clay's doing yard work while I am just vibing, you know? But the puzzle I'm about to start is called Seasons Reading, and it's truly the coziest, cutest puzzle I've seen in a minute. Christmas puzzles from here on out. And I'm gonna start this, and we're gonna hit play on the old audiobook now. puzzle progress and confirmed I have listened to a solid hour of my audiobook. The plot and the mystery is definitely thickening. I'm trying to see exactly what chapter I'm on. The midst of chapter 14. So, not bad. Not bad at all. The name of the game for dinner tonight, pancakes. It was a breakfast for dinner kind of situation. We got the butter melting. I got some bacon in the oven. And then Clay and I are gonna watch a little bit of Slow Horses season 4, our favorite currently airing spy show. And then I'm gonna start another book for this vlog. I already have 2.5 hours of reading in for today. My phone time has decreased about 40% overall the past few days. I need that. And so we're gonna carry this momentum through and hopefully keep my reading progress up as well. I've opted for chocolate chip pancakes because duh, obviously. An incredible dinner if I do say so myself. Time to enjoy. Back watching our favorite spy show. Matilda obviously is vibing. And yes, I have started decorating for Christmas, as you can see by my garland under my TV. Hello. We watched 2 episodes of our favorite spy show, and now it's time for my allotted reading time. I'm about to put my phone in the drawer. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit distracted, but no more. I'm now going to start reading Ancillary Justice and read for the next hour and a half. I got into bed early tonight with the goal of reading as much as I can, and obviously hitting my 4-hour goal, but maybe even reading a little bit past the 4-hour mark to settle into a nice relaxing Sunday evening to set myself up for success going into the week next week. So excited to start this book. This is the 3rd book to one of my favorite trilogies, space opera series with such great characters, such incredible action. I feel like this is going to be a fast read, and I truly have no idea like what to anticipate for this 3rd and final installment, so I'm thrilled. This is the plan this morning. Hello, Millie. Have you had a good morning so far? Anyway, it's time to sit down and read. Hello. It is early evening. I haven't had much time to read since this morning, but I'm gonna sit down now and do some reading. I have quite a bit of this book left to read, but that's all right, because I'm gonna sit down and read for about an hour right now and then read again before bed. Ancillary Mercy is the 3rd book to the Imperial Radich series, one of my favorite series. It's a space opera series following our main character, Breck. And in book 1, we find Breck basically in this really like isolated, remote place and to learn about her past. And basically for thousands of years, she existed as ship AI, and she existed through many bodies through ancillary. So she was used to like collective experience and collective perspective. But we know something happened because now Breck is a solo individual. The first 2 books, it's sort of like unpacking this world, which is fascinating. It's set in this empire that has far-reaching power and influence. They're very colonially minded and they're constantly taking over, exploiting people. There's lots of specific structure within their government and social rules. So a lot of that is explored. But alongside just like the fascinating world building, just the setting that this author was able to create, we also have a crazy plot because yes, we're learning about Breck's past, but we're also following her in present day as she's seeking out revenge and like understanding the origin of her revenge, the players of the revenge, and then how everything sort of escalates and continues to like go broader in scope is bananas. Every book also kind of has its own specific plot line that you're following. And everything is informing each other, but similar to kind of like the Expanse series, we have specific and new characters and settings that are sort of introduced that are, you know, like unique to the book itself, but there's still this like overarching storyline. But I love this series because it has such a great combination of like thoughtful, interesting characters, a fascinating like whole new world, society to explore, which is one of my favorite reasons why I love sci-fi, because I feel like the cultures and things that authors create in sci-fi settings are always just like so fascinating. And then like a crazy plot. So Anyway, I was able to read a little bit. I read about 70 pages between last night and this morning. I definitely want to read more. So I'm going to sit down now and in fact read more and then read more tonight. But I want to say so far I have read over 400 pages. So not bad. I'm on day 3. I'm definitely behind right now with my 4 hours of required reading. But given that I have tonight to myself to do as much reading as I'd like, I hope to catch up then. I did read for about 45 minutes this morning. But the beginning of this book, I was reading a little bit slower than I typically read. So it's just taking me longer as I was trying to like process and remember everything that happened in the previous book. But now I feel situated, so I feel like it's going to go quicker again. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm going to read now. And we're going to keep this no more doom scrolling thing going. Another hour read. Progress is definitely being made. I for sure plan to read more tonight. Also, something about Ann Leckie is like her books are super serious and she has really complex and important topics that she weaves into her books. But she also is able to have, hello Matilda, some fantastic humor as well. And just the mix of like comedic relief and the super serious plot line is like such a great balance she's able to strike. Hi, good morning-ish. I have a reading update for you guys. I put in a lot of good reading this morning. I think I read for like an hour and a half this morning. So really on track to not only finish this book, but I'm going to read more this afternoon and also listen to more of my audiobook. But I want to do a reading update because I'm in the home stretch of Ancillary Mercy. I have about 110 pages left. I'm on page 220. Obviously, with this book being the 3rd book in a series, I don't want to say too much specifically about the plot because spoilers. I feel like this book maybe started a little bit slow, not necessarily in a bad way, but kind of reestablishing the foundation in which it wanted to, you know, tell the story. But things have really picked up, especially in the last like 30% that I've read. And I know this final sequence is going to be absolutely bananas. In general, I would say the Imperial Radish series is so much about characters and plot. And there's so much like beautiful connection that you see be formed throughout the series. Different types of partnership, understanding, and also what I really appreciate about this book and series is that there's actually a lot of dialogue around identity and like challenging your friends as well. Like you can like someone, but characters will still challenge their friends to think about something perhaps differently. You see this on like an interpersonal level, also at a government level when like policy and things are sort of challenged as it impacts like various citizens. There's lots of discussion around the concept of self, personship, citizenship, especially because we obviously have our main character who's literally ship AI existing as an individual. They have their own perspective on their own identity, but obviously people are going to have their own perspectives, right or wrong. And you see this play out not just with our main character, but through other types of AI, from station AI to other ships, to people who are from different cultures, different planets, different intergalactic sort of connections and places, people from different social classes. Like there's so much like societal contemplation within this series, while also being surrounded by like a massive conspiracy with like crazy action and like massive consequences as well. I really appreciate the balance of things because it like has really great characters with such introspective like writing and perspectives that the author is like choosing to include and think about throughout this series, while keeping us thoroughly entertained from a plot point of view and sort of escalating things as we go along. So far, I would still say the first was my favorite of the 3 I've read, but they've all felt very nicely interconnected and the progression of the story was so great. But I think there's just something so special about the first one and like really getting to know Breck, who is by far like one of my favorite characters I've encountered in literature, and her particular relationship with another character that we know quite well over the course of this series was just great. But anyway, I can see why these books won many a Nebula award because the writing is fantastic, and also just like the meat and potatoes of this is just solidly well done and just reminds me constantly why I love sci-fi. Again, I have about 110 pages left in the home stretch. I know there are other books in this series. I don't know if they're like offshoots or connections to this. She could really go in so many different directions with this, but I haven't bought it yet, but I will definitely be doing so soon. But I just wanted to let you know I've been reading this morning. It's been so nice. My phone time, I checked, has gone down 50%, which was kind of the goal, right? Over the past few days. So I'm really happy that this has actually been working. And I'm really looking forward to doing more of my puzzle and listening to more of my audiobook later. I'm hoping to definitely get another hour or so of that under my belt. I'm feeling productive, proactive, and sort of settled back into my own brain a little bit, which was, again, what I was hoping for. It is once again sustenance time, and I have treated myself to some delectable pre-made items to make my life a little bit easier. I bought some potato soup from Central Market, which I'm going to heat up on the stove, and I also got this stunning rosemary loaf. And now this is a small thing. This is a small joy. I've been wanting to try this French butter for a really long time, but it's just always been sold out for some reason, or my Central Market hasn't been carrying it. But they carried it, and I won't lie, it's very good. So I got my fancy butter as well. So I'm gonna heat up all these things, enjoy, accomplish more reading, all of those things. Let's get to it. Soup for the soul, especially when you don't have to make it yourself and you just have to heat it up. Slay. Hello, it's reading sprint time for you and I. We're gonna see how far I can get. Reminder, about 130 pages left. So let's get reading. Progress. We are on track. Also, things are getting wild in this book. Wild. Puzzle progress is going along swimmingly, and I've also listened to a good chunk of this book. I am on page 175 of it, I want to say. I listened to like an hour and a half of this just now. It's really quite engaging, again, because it has that dual timeline of past and present, and our main characters are reading her great aunt's diary, who has since passed. There's like all of these small town mysteries that are sort of connecting together. So we have the present day like murder mystery, but there's clearly something that happened in this town many decades prior that's probably very much informing what happened in present day. And it's just super engaging. And as I said, the audiobook has been great. And yeah, dang, I've gotten so much reading in the past few days. I also feel like I think I'll be able to finish this audiobook because I still have like 6 hours left. But I've almost read about 100 pages worth of it, which, you know, a win is a win. And I think I'll be able to do another puzzle soon to pair with it next time, which has just been a blast in general. And dinner is served. Home stretch, sitting down to finish Ancillary Mercy. Let's go team. Hey guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the end of the vlog. The next day, I'm happy to report I finished Ancillary Mercy last night, meaning I completed 2 books over the course of this vlog. I was also able to add some additional hours into my audiobook listening, but let's go ahead and wrap up everything I was able to read. Ancillary Mercy was about 330 pages, I want to say. And completing this trilogy has been so interesting. I have described this series as many things: a space opera, lots of action, adventure. I would also say this book really cemented the fact that I would honestly describe this series as almost cozy. As much as there's action and adventure, there's so much about relationships and second chances, so much tea drinking, so much discussion and like introspection, and almost with every single book the scope of the conspiracy becomes more focused, which I think in hindsight makes a lot of sense, particularly as we're always centering our main character Breck. Anyways, I wasn't expecting to like leave this 3rd book being like, yeah, you know, this is kind of like a cozy read to me, but I would say that. Anyway, I really enjoyed this concluding novel of this series. So happy I was able to get to it before the end of the year. I also was able to listen to about 2.5 hours of my audiobook of How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin, meaning I read about 85 pages, I want to say, and about 11 chapters, which again, I'm quite pleased with. Literally the perfect companion to puzzling. I also feel like I'm going to play some games listening to this. I'm at the point of the story where like the mystery has definitely hooked me. I often find myself when we're switching timelines, I'm like, ah, but I want to know what happens next. But like I'm constantly led back and forth between the two of them. It's just like very engaging. I love the setting. I love the huge cast of characters, a small town setting. It's definitely delivering exactly what I was hoping it was going to deliver. And I'm curious to see how the whole thing is going to wrap up, because I'll be honest, I really have no idea. And then lastly, I read almost the entirety of Moonbound. I was about 100 pages into this book when I started this vlog. I adored this. If you're looking for a super strange sci-fi fantasy, like classic quest adventure story, a really lovable main character and kind of a coming of age tale, an unexpected narrator directly addressing the reader, and just such a fascinating world to sort of explore. I would say the strengths of this book is definitely just like the absurdity of it and the self-awareness it has. And I also feel like if you're just like a fan of these style of stories, this would be the book for you. I want them to turn this into like a delightful animated series because it would hit so hard. All that to say is I have read over 700 pages the last few days, and I was also able to cut down my phone time by half, which I'm gonna say is a win because my social media time in particular was drastically reduced, which again was my primary goal going into this vlog. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.